Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I have a confession to make to you and I have a few tips to share and a small haul. So if you are interested in any of those things and finding out what this confession is, please remember to subscribe, stay here for the rest of the video, and let's get into it. All right, I'm gonna start out with a mini simplified story, hopefully as simple as possible, about this confession I have to share with you, and maybe others feel the same way I do. But the confession is that I am not a spontaneous person, and I really don't like to travel that much with my family, like with kids and everything. It's just a lot of work. Okay, so then when you put these two things together, it's just not a good combination for me. And I was actually supposed to film this video a while ago, and you'll learn why I did not in just a minute. But this is what spontaneity gets me, okay? And so a few weeks ago, it was about 3 weeks ago, I think yesterday, I went into my husband's office here at home, not like on campus, and was like, I've been thinking maybe we should take a trip to Southern Utah for spring break, for his spring break, which was the next week. And you know, we hadn't planned anything. Like, I knew we didn't have a whole lot going on that week, so it wasn't like we'd have to cancel a bunch of stuff or rearrange our schedules. And so he turns and looks at me. This is how spontaneous I am. He's like, so was the spontaneous part you just thinking about it, or are we gonna actually do it? I am Miss Spontaneity at its finest over here. And I was like, no, like maybe actually do it. It's, you know, we could get to warmer weather and all the things. So I booked something that day, I think I brought it up the day before on Sunday. And so that I booked something on Monday for the next week, and we were just gonna go Wednesday through a Saturday. And so, because most of the things we did have were at the beginning of the week, and we didn't want to go the whole week anyways. So I made sure all that was planned. And then the very next day after I planned it, one of my kids ended up sick with the flu and ran a fever for a few days, and then had like congestion and all these things for several days and was very weak. And then she got better and was even like good basically by Sunday. And so I was like, okay, hopefully, you know, nobody else has showed any signs of sickness or anything, so we'll be good. And so I kept planning everything, planning, you know, so spontaneous that I'm planning everything. But the fact that I didn't have this trip planned 3 months ago was a spontaneous part for me, that it was like, we basically booked this a week before we were gonna go. And so then we get to Monday and I get a whole bunch of stuff done and ready for the trip. And Tuesday, I had an early morning temple trip. I usually go to our temple once a week. And so I had an earlier time that day just so I could get back and finish everything. Well, I come home, 3 of my kids are running fevers. So my youngest, who's 19 months, and then 2 of my older kids were also running fevers. And so all of a sudden I was just like, this is what I get for being spontaneous, okay? There was already so much anxiety for me. I just get a lot of anxiety when it comes to being completely spontaneous, and also when it comes to travel, okay? There's just so much involved, especially when you have your whole family with you and you still have younger children. It's just a lot of work, and I just don't like to do it. It's expensive. You know, there's just so many things involved, and it just is very stressful for me. And so already having all of that stress on top of something we weren't even gonna do, that was just decided the week before. And then all of a sudden now I have 3 kids that are sick, and it's not just gonna be a quick sickness, it's gonna probably last the rest of the week. And I was just like, I was devastated and a mess, and I was so sad. Luckily my husband was able to call, and they had an opening the next week for the same place. And they're like, we're very limited on opening since it was a resort, but it's basically the people buy the individual houses, right? And then rent them out. So you still have to stay in the same place and go when they have openings for that particular place. And it's not like you can just switch to a different house on the resort property. And so they had an opening, the whole next week was open, and there was like a few times in April. And so my husband's like, let's just do it next week. He can just cancel his class. He teaches twice a week, so he could just cancel class and we could still go Wednesday through Saturday of that week. And actually the weather was going to be better. We were gonna end up with one whole rainy day the week we had planned to go. And so that was also something that was already devastating to me. I was like, man, the weather was looking good and now it's gonna rain. This is again what I get for being spontaneous and why I don't do things like this. You know, even though I know you can't predict everything and life just happens, but it's still really hard for me and it causes a lot of anxiety. So let me know if you feel the same way. So I sat on the couch for 2 days with my 19-month-old, and then I ended up sick. And I was like, great. And so Thursday, Friday, I ran a fever. And then for the next several days, I was very weak, had lots of congestion and all these things. And so even by Monday and Tuesday, I was having a hard time really functioning, but I was like, I gotta get some things done. Luckily, because I am a planner type of a person, we had already packed almost all of our stuff because we had packed it the week before, and my kids didn't necessarily have a ton of clothes left to make it through the week, but a lot of them were in pajamas the whole week because we all just laid on the couch sick. But they also, some of them did the little bit of laundry they did have so that they could have more clothes to wear because they have just about a week's worth of clothes. And half of those things were packed in the suitcase, and I'm like, we're not getting it out because I am not repacking clothes and having to go through all of that again. So I was very glad when I still wasn't feeling well Monday and Tuesday that all the bags were basically packed for everybody. And so then Tuesday I did start to feel better and we were able to go on our trip. And it ended up a lot of fun. I was still fairly tired, fairly congested, that's the right word. But I was able to do it and we were able to go on some hikes and it was so wonderful. If you want to see pictures, I put a bunch on Instagram. It's just at Jackie Paulson and it's down in the description box too. But I was so grateful for it. But the point of this video is to tell you that there's probably a lot of people out there that have similar anxieties that I do. It's hard because if you don't have the same personality as somebody else, you're like, why don't they just do this? Or why can't they just do this? Or why isn't this as easy for them as it is for me? And growing up, that was a little bit tricky because I had a mom that had a very outgoing, like just let's just do it personality. And I was not like that. And so trying to understand each other was difficult a lot of the time. And it's like, okay, we can be different and it's okay. But, you know, I still try to overcome some of those anxieties and be spontaneous. Obviously, we went on the trip and things, and I go hiking, I do things that I don't know the outcome or I don't know exactly where we're going. We went on a hard hike this time and I didn't know exactly how to get where we were supposed to be and all that kind of stuff. But that part, I don't know, I enjoyed that part. It's just some other things that I really struggle with, just letting go and not having everything planned perfectly. And so, you know, we have to embrace those differences in each other and find balance with the people that are different than us as well. My husband is really good at balancing me because he is a person that would just fly by the seat of his pants anytime. Like, he does plan things out and, you know, because he has to for work and to get things done. But he also is a person that would just go and just do whatever. And so we balance each other out really well. So I wanted to just give a few tips that I use that help me when I travel. Because even when I plan out travel several months in advance, it still is very stressful for me. I always, I'm gonna give you an example because I feel like this is a really good one. If you've seen Inside Out 2, they introduce anxiety as one of the characters. And the definition they gave in there was something I'd never thought about. My husband actually pointed it out, but anxiety is so anxious because he or she, I can't remember if it's a boy or girl, plans so much that they see every possibility and it's stressful, right? It's like they're a planner, which is what makes them anxious. because it's like, well, this could happen, but so I'm gonna plan for this and bring this, but then what if this happens and this, you know, like someone could get sick, someone could get injured, a flight could get canceled, the weather could be horrible, you know, all these different things. And that's what causes someone to be anxious. And so it can be a good thing in a lot of ways, but it also can be a very awful thing that makes you feel yucky also. And so I just felt like that was one of the best examples of anxiety that I have seen and the best explanations of it. It made me feel like not so, like I always felt like it was such a negative thing, and it can be, but it also, there's a lot of good things about it, and understanding it better, like this is why I'm so anxious, is because I think through all the possibilities. So anyways, that was sort of long-winded, but I felt like I should share it because I know I'm not the only one. And I know I am not the only one as well that has people in their life that are different, right? That have different personalities. And so they're going to approach things differently. So to be able to understand someone that's maybe more like me might be beneficial for you. So I just have, I think 5, 6 tips of things that I do to help me as I'm planning a trip that help me be a little bit less anxious, that could be beneficial for you or maybe for someone in your life that is similar to me. And again, I planned all of this. I was gonna film this video the Tuesday I came home and everyone was sick. And so I was planning to film it all then, and then life happened. So I did not. And then I was too sick still and not feeling well enough right before we actually left. So now I am sharing it with you. And to give you a little background too of where I've been for the last few weeks, because we were sick and then we actually went on our trip. So we didn't do school for like over 2 weeks because of all the things. So let's get into these tips, well, I don't know what I was gonna say, quick tips, and then I mixed it together, so tips. Okay. So these are things I almost always do when we're traveling. We don't travel a whole lot, just like me or just me and my husband. It's usually our whole family. So there's 6 kids and 2 adults, right? There's 8 of us. And so it's always a big kind of ordeal when we go anywhere. Even if it's for a couple of days, it's a big deal. So the first thing I like to do is make sure my house is mostly clean. I love coming home to a clean house. I know there's a lot of people that do. And so I don't like to leave it a complete disaster. So I'll just kind of, I'm not doing usually anything super crazy to clean it, but I try to go through and make sure everything's just tidied up and like the fridge is cleaned out, right? We don't want all this yucky food and just sitting in there, making sure everything's just kind of wiped down. So when we come in the door from our vacation with all of our other stuff, like our house is already clean, and it's not an added stress on top of getting home from a vacation where I'm like, oh, I also need to clean my whole house too. So that is one of the things I do that helps with my anxiety. The second thing I do is to pack snacks. Some are healthy, some are not as healthy. And I try to bring stuff that we do already have, so we're not spending as much money when we get to where we're going. But I don't know about you, but eating is very important to me. And I try to eat well most of the time. And I can get very hangry. And when it comes, like whenever I plan anything, food is always like, okay, what am I gonna eat? When am I gonna eat? Because I know if I get hangry, then that's not gonna be good. And if I take too long to eat, my stomach gets very, very upset and I get bloated and it's uncomfortable. And that's happened to me since I was very young. My metabolism has always been super crazy fast. And so eating fairly consistently keeps me like from getting sick. And especially if I'm being very, very active, I need to eat a lot. So planning snacks for me, for my kids, because sometimes in the car, I know this isn't always the best thing, but sometimes the only way they stay quiet, especially the little ones, is if you keep feeding them. So, it might be stressful to sit and listen to them scream for hours on end. So just keep giving them food. It's not teaching good eating habits, but sometimes you just do things for your own sanity. So I just try to make sure there's snack options, and I try to look through what we already have and to bring that, if there's space, like to a reasonable amount and stuff, nothing like crazy. super crazy. I don't know what I'm talking about today. We're still trying to recover. It's been like a crazy week trying to come back from vacation and get all the things done that I've missed for the last like 2.5 weeks of my life. Anyway, so make sure there are snacks. The third thing that I do, especially if we are traveling locally, you could do this even other places in the United States as well. I haven't personally done this because that's very expensive for our whole family to like get on an airplane and go somewhere. So most of the time we're driving somewhere, is doing a grocery order at the place that we're going to be at. And so sometimes that's Walmart. It has been in the past when we've gone to Southern Utah, but the place we like to stay at is right next to a Harmon's. It's a little bit more expensive, Harmon's is, grocery wise, but it takes so much less time. Like this time it was so great. My husband just went around the corner, got the groceries and came back. Usually it's like almost a whole hour thing by the time you get to where the Walmart is. And it's so much busier and it just takes a long time. And so this time, Harmon's, that was definitely a good choice. But I can just set my phone, kind of plan it like I would a normal week. We usually plan it to like eat out like twice or 3 times, depending on how long we're gone. And so I'll get stuff for breakfast and lunch to have back at the house we're staying at. Sometimes the lunches get moved to dinner. If we're out for lunchtime, then we'll eat out for lunchtime and then just have like sandwiches for dinner that day or whatever. And so I try to plan it that way. Sometimes I'll get like a meal at Costco. This would be just me running in, not part of the grocery order. Like, they have the pre-made meals and that's way cheaper than our whole family going to eat out. And our car space is so small, I cannot usually fit a cooler in to pack all this stuff down. And since we're by grocery stores, I just go get the groceries there and try to keep it as simple as possible. This time we did the Kevin's meals. Is that even what they're called? I know it's the Kevin's brand. I know a lot of people mention them because they're paleo, so they're allergy friendly for a lot of things. And so I just got 2 of those for one of the nights we were there. It was a quick like warm up meal and some rice and some broccoli that I could just steam real quick. And it was super simple and much cheaper than us all going out to eat, because that's like $60 to $70 for us to go out to eat. And this meal was probably less than $30, maybe $25. And so it was just a way cheaper option than going out to eat. So that's something that helps me too, is just knowing when we get there, I already have kind of a plan for food. I know we're not spending crazy amounts of money and that we can just go pick up the groceries and be ready to go. The 4th thing that helps with my anxiety when we travel is making sure my kids have things to do. So things to do once we get there, obviously, but also things to do in the car or at night when we're trying to wind down, like books or different activities they can do. So that's kind of where the little haul comes in. I think I have a lot of this stuff. If I don't, I'll put pictures on the screen. I did record them before we left because I knew we were gonna use them and I knew I wasn't gonna get this video made. So a few of the things, I don't get new things all the time, but we really only go on one bigger family trip per year, and it's usually a road trip. And so I got a few things for my toddler especially. So a few of the things that I got for him that were newer, and then I added in some stuff I already had, were these water wow things, which I've used for my older kids when they were smaller, but I don't think he's ever used them, and he actually really loved these. He thought it was so fun, and so did my 19-month-old. She really enjoyed it as well. And so I had gotten 2 of these. I had filled the pens with water and kept them in a Ziploc baggie in my bag, in my backpack, and then just handed them to him. And so they've already been very well used and loved. And then I also got these puzzles. I only ended up taking one with us. So these are all just like a puzzle kit. So I didn't take this one. So I'll show you what it looks like when it comes. They're magnetic, which is why I got them. So there's 3 puzzles on here and it's on a magnetic board. And so for this one, with dinosaurs, you can see the puzzles aren't in here. I didn't want the pieces lost everywhere. And he actually didn't end up doing the puzzles in the car. Maybe if he was a little bit older, he could have. And he was mostly occupied. He was fairly happy. It's like a 5.5-hour drive. And he was mostly happy. And so I wasn't gonna pull out the stuff that I knew would be harder to clean up. But these ones I just put all the puzzle pieces in little baggies so that it would be a little bit easier to keep track of. And so he's been playing with these puzzles a ton since we got home though. Like he has loved them so much. And so I would recommend those. It's something too for homeschool that keeps him occupied while we're trying to do group work. And then I also got a couple of these boards. I only took one of them because I'm also using them for church. And then I got some colored pencils, like just teeny ones that are a little bit chunkier that he could hold. They also came with a pencil sharpener, but I did not put that in here for him. So that goes down in the bottom. And then I had printed off, see this lovely drawing, so a bunch of Bluey pages just off of free, well, so you can get free options. I had found some also on Etsy and stuff like that. And then I put blank paper in here as well so that he could draw and play with that. So that was something that also when we were kind of relaxing at the house that he was able to do. And my 19-month-old colored a little bit too. And then for my older kids, I don't do a whole lot for them. They are now old enough to pack their own backpack. So usually they'll pick some books and stuff to take with them. And they like sticker books. So that is the one thing I get for them. And so I just got a bunch. I had 4 more because they each picked what they wanted. And we go through these a lot. We use them for a lot of different activities and things like that. They'll do them while they're sitting at church. And so it's just something that we use a lot. So I got more than we needed because I didn't know what ones they wanted. And I wanted it to be a little bit of a surprise, like pull them out and be like, okay, pick which one you want to take. And so that's what I did. And I did get 2 of these ones because there wasn't a whole lot of more boy options. So I thought my boys might like those, but one of them picked something different and one of them did pick the airplanes. But we just love the sticker books. So anyways, that's something I got for them. And then the last thing that I have got was a game. Like I said, when we originally were gonna go, one of the days it was gonna rain the whole day, which was kind of a bummer for me because I had 2 hikes I wanted to do, and if it was gonna rain all of one day, we weren't gonna be able to do it. And so I was like, okay, what are we gonna do? So I was like, well, I'll just bring a bunch of games and maybe I could bring our reading, like our homeschool reading book and all that kind of stuff that we could sit there if we have nothing to do for that day, outside we could sit inside and do some stuff together that way. So I had seen Mindy McKnight do a game review on Amazon, an Amazon Live, and she had done this game and it was small and a simple card game. And so I did take it with us, but the weather was so good while we were there. We didn't really play any games. Mostly we were out swimming or hiking, and then we were just relaxing a little bit. But we have played it several times since we got home. So I played it with my oldest son, and then he's played it with my other older son several times. And they've actually really liked it. It's a very easy game to pick up on. And then I just want to mention 2 other games. I did not get these as part of this haul, but these were ones that my kids got at Christmas time. So one of them is 5 crowns. So this is another one I took with us. Again, I try to keep them small and like simple games that, it's not gonna take up a whole lot of space when we're packing. And then also that I don't have all these pieces and stuff that I'm gonna have to worry about. So this game is actually like a card game that I grew up playing. My great grandma taught it to my grandma, who taught it to the rest of my family. And so basically this is like the deck that you don't have to change it. So we just do normal decks of cards, and you have to take out the aces and the 2s, and then you play with all the rest, because in the first round you get 3 cards and the 3 is wild. And then you go out with like a pair or whatever, pair with 3 cards. No, so you get like 3 of a kind or whatever, and you can put your hand down. And then it goes up. So the 4 cards, the 4 is wild, 5's wild, all the way to kings. So 13 cards and the kings are wild. This is the game. I did not even know that. Yeah, I didn't know that when I got it either. So that was really funny. Anyways, my kids are like, that's like grandma's game that she was teaching us. I was like, that is hilarious. So anyway, that's what it is. Sorry, I need a drink of water. My throat is still trying to It's almost better. It's almost like the congestion's just is barely there. And then the other game, we haven't actually played this. My son keeps playing it out this week, but we've been so busy trying to catch up with schoolwork and stuff that we haven't. But I really do want to play this one. This one's a dice game. You roll the dice, cross off total of the white dice on your scorecard. And the more numbers you cross off, the more you score. So I don't know exactly how it works. Like I said, we haven't played it, but hopefully we will get to it this week and we can try it out, because this was another one they got in their stockings at Christmas. So those are just a few things that I like to kind of plan for. Occasionally I will get a few new things. Sometimes I'll just rummage through what we have, or maybe what we haven't used in a while, and we'll use all that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm trying to go through the last two things as quickly as possible because, you know, here I am, just long-winded as always. But the fifth one is to pack as light as possible. I know sometimes this is really hard, and depending on the trip, it's hard. But if we are going someplace where I don't really have to worry about getting ready besides like a ponytail or anything, and we're gonna just be hiking or swimming, I don't take any makeup, I don't take any hot tools, I don't like take hardly anything for my hair. You know, we'll take shampoo, conditioner, and just a few basic things, like basic hygiene things. But then clothes-wise, I also try to keep it as simple as possible. It's like whatever I wear as a shirt for the day, I'll just wear as a jammy shirt. You know, things like that, so that we take one big suitcase, and that has all 6 of my kids' clothes in it. That's including diapers. And then me and my husband each took like a small carry-on. And then, you know, they'll have their backpacks. We each have like our own personal backpack with the stuff in it that we want to do, like in the evenings or on the drive or whatever. And that's it. Like I try to keep it so simple because we still have to take a pack and play with us. We have a hiking backpack. I have a carrier too for my 19-month-old, you know, so the backpack is for my 3-year-old and stuff. So we have a lot of little extra things, especially since we still have young kids. And so I try to keep packing as like simple and light as possible so that it's not stressful. Like, how do we get to fit all this stuff in the car? What are we gonna do once we get there? If we have all this stuff, you know, like all the things. I just like to try to keep it as simple from the get-go so that it's less stressful while we're there, and then also when we get home. The last thing is to just try to focus on what I can control, which again is humorous to me now looking back at it, because everybody was sick. Like I planned this video that Monday and came home Tuesday to a bunch of sick kids. And so it kind of cracks me up. So like I said, I get caught up on like, oh, the weather's not gonna be good. Whereas my husband's like, whatever, we'll just do what we can do. You know, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, all the kids are sick. And then I'm sick, and he's like, it'll be fine. We're still gonna go, and we'll just do what we can do if people still aren't feeling well. And like, he is very good at helping me like refocus and be positive. But I think that's just a good key in all of life, is try to focus on just what we can control, because there's a lot that we can't. And when I start to think of all the things I don't have control over, that's when I get super, super anxious. And then I don't want to do anything because I'm always just so worried about it. And so I just try to go into a situation, well, this is what I can control, this is what I can do, and everything else, we'll just figure it out, which is really hard for me to do and to let go, but I am trying every single day to be better. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video and my confession of how I'm not spontaneous, and I don't love traveling with my whole family. It's just a whole lot of work, and usually just not always worth it. Some moments are worth it, and some are definitely not worth it. The stress sometimes is not worth it to me, to plan a big trip and then just have everything blow up in my face. And so anyway, if you want any of the things I have mentioned, I will try to link them all down below. I believe all of them are from Amazon, so I'll put them down in the description box. And comment down below if you are like me, more like me, or if you are just like, whatever, I'm game for anything. Because I'd love to hear your different insights, your different personalities. And remember to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.